few minutes late, and if you're still here, welcome to the Change the World on that Monday afternoon. We have been randomly streaming this program and this live program any day of the week at any time because we need to cover a good number of of participants and people that are with us from all over the world. In all humility, I'm not saying this because it's makes me feel good, but it's really all over the world. So, welcome. And I also want to start with a little bit of maintenance, housekeeping. I wanted to say, and this is on the right side of me. You see that there is an area for for chatting. So please do feel free to chat. I will not be able to reply to your chat live, I mean real time, but definitely everybody will be able to see your chat, and I will see if I see it. I will of course try to address it. Otherwise, I'll do this after the show. You can also see us now on more channels. We added Instagram, Facebook is there, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and Spotify for all this podcast aspect of it. It's also recording, so you'll find this after the show. And finally, not to be boring, you have a website to go to if you want to, which is www.andrepolitzer.com, where there's a lot of information and where you also can communicate with me after the fact, after this show. What else did I want to tell you? Last thing I want to tell you. Yes, please to register on YouTube, to subscribe on YouTube. Please, 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 please. This is a really important kind of thing to do. Now, today I'm going to sound like old school in a way, because definitely I need to say something as people get a little lost on a regular basis due to the virtual world, due to isolation since COVID, due to the things like metaverse and this kind of world, where of course there is a generation or two or three or 1,000 gaps with many other people who think differently. And I think it's not only generational, because it's not really. When of course someone is born in the internet and in all these things that are happening today, it's easier. It's in fact maybe some kind of a misled ideal, an ideal to live in a virtual fiction and try to start making transactions, be transactional in all kind of new universe that will be in fact created in the cyberspace, which is absolutely a nightmare to my understanding, to my taste. Because of that, I started to think about what is needed holistically for a human mind to get the balance that many are losing or have lost by a lack of interaction, and by the fact that if you combine that along with different things about the personality and the character of people, let's say that someone is completely introvert, as is very shy, and the kind of profession that this person does is very much with the computer, if it's not coding or programming or accounting or writing contracts as an attorney, and so many other administrative tasks. I mean, the joke is, the other day I had unfortunately an instance. I had to be in an emergency room, and I spent the whole night there, and I was looking at what was going on. I don't think there's any emergency room anywhere in America that is really working or is really functional, especially since COVID, with the amount of demand. When you really ask, for the when you wonder or measure, the proportion of supply and demand. Well, the demand is much higher than the supply, and then you can say that it's not only a staffing issue; it's all kind of logistical aspects. Anyway, I was not in the best hospital, believe me, in the world. I was just close to my home, and I was in an ER. Thanks God, it's all behind me. But it was just an incredible ordeal, but a very interesting experience. And I've been in healthcare and patient experience, and I was the director of patient experience in the hospital. And yes, this is something I pay attention to, but it's also because I also was for a whole career in customer experience and CRM and all of those things. And for me, a customer is king. A patient, even more. You need to try to really kind of listen and not only diagnose the patient, but after that, provide the care that this patient needs. Well, I got maybe 30% of that. I got some care, 30% of that, 30%. So thanks God my life was not in danger, although I had a situation and it was not a coincidence for me to be there. And I had a lack of potassium, and that's sometimes very dangerous because it was very low. So you give you an IV and it's very hurting. And it's the kind of IV that hurts a lot. It burns you with potassium, for those who know. And what I'm trying to give you as a story is that people were focused on their computers, and people were nurses, assistant nurses, or whatever, even NPs. I mean, excuse me, NPs, yeah, nurse practitioners, those who are prescribing medication. I was in terrible pain, not only with the IV, but with the situation I was in. And I needed painkiller. And it was not giving me that painkiller for at least 4 or 5 hours. So, and all of that, I was in an alley. I was not in a room, like it's very often the case now in ER. But I was there for the whole night. I was not moved anywhere else. So, and there were at one point many patients were gone already. So this is just, I'm trying to tell you, I was trying to get the attention that I needed, just a little that I needed. I was a high maintenance patient, but I needed a minimum, and I didn't get this minimum. Why do I talk about that? Because people were stuck in their computer. Because there is all kind of reasons why, probably in a patient journey, especially in an ER, someone is going to start first, working on the computer instead of paying attention to the patient. And the whole experience I had, because after that I had the surgery and all of that, I had through the whole thing the consistency of people prioritizing the process of entering data and I don't know what in their computer. I don't want to say a bad word, but I was not happy to see that. I needed them. I needed their attention, but their attention was on the computer. Isn't that comparable? But this is a little extreme. I'm talking about the ER. Isn't that comparable to all the interaction that you see around you in the street or whoever? They have the headphones, they're talking to someone, but you think they're talking to you and all of that. It's extremely troubling. And we are losing a lot of opportunities, but we're losing a lot of quality too. If you get trapped by these old trends, and it doesn't improve, unfortunately, then if you get trapped with those trends, you get trapped, definitely get trapped, period. So what I'm trying to say now to anybody who is looking for quality of life, who is looking to kind of get out of there and interact and network and be with people and enjoy being with people, that's a huge obstacle. But then there is a second aspect I was bringing today, and that's the aspect of touching, sensing, of getting this experience that a human being needs, smelling a nice fragrance, touching the trunk of a tree, enjoying the flowers and touching sometimes the petals too, or something, just to touch it, or creating. And that's where I bring the craftsmanship, what I always admired so much. It's incredible when you look at the craftsman, how sometimes it can be just looking at someone working on a piece of art, creating something. I had this experience that I want to share because this was one of the most spiritual experience I had in the world of business. I was visiting a watch factory in Switzerland, one of the most famous watch companies, very luxury brand. And this was the restoration workshop. And one of the craftsmen working on that watch with little, with a magnifier and with little instruments, with very micro little, screws and all kind of little things and those little, how do you call it? Sometimes I'm losing the word, but there is all the things that are used to allow the mechanism to function in a watch. And then he was assembling all of that very, very meticulously. At one point, he did a little gesture like that, and that the heartbeat started. The watch started to beat. Time was starting to click on into this watch just by the human intervention. Not always divine, but human. But I think also that there is definitely the divine in this, because human beings have been made at the image of God. That's what it says in the Bible. And this image of God is very reflected in craftsmanship. The talent, the two hands that are in touch with the creativity of the person. Try to think about it now holistically. Holistically. That it has something to do with quality of life, that it has to do with the reality that this world has a lot to give to you, to all of us. There's so many different things around us that are really gifts from nature and gifts in general that we are not using by just pushing off everything and walking away, running away from all this reality and make it a virtual reality. I don't think we made a good decision or wise decision, or we are making a wise decisions to renounce on living the experience of a human being. I wanted to bring this because in coaching, right, we're not psychologists, we're not therapists, we are coaches. And when it's about leadership development, we also help people lead, and leading sometimes require to watch, especially listen to people. And when there is issues, conflicts, someone and toxicity, it's sometimes coming from this kind of very rooted problems. And I just want to say, by being aware and gaining more and more awareness about this, will make us much better leaders. We can definitely bring in our environment, in the workplace, different things, even plants and things. It's not for the whole aspect of the planets getting warmer, or having all these environmental problems that are unfortunately also addressed very politically with different agendas. If there is one topic that is political, that's probably the one. And unfortunately, it cost us, the taxpayers, a fortune, and wasted in many research that are not in fact happening or are not getting anywhere. But they try to make you believe it gets somewhere. And for me, as long as you look at the nature around you, you see a lake, you see mountains, you see snow, you see rain, and you see all these things, and you go into the ocean, and you still see things that are like that over there, the living world. It's life. It's definitely at our disposal. We can use it, we can enjoy it, but we don't when we are stuck into the computer and into the virtuality. So I think my message, I told you two stories, I was pretty clear about this. I want to just finish this point about talking about the creative essence of human beings, because we are creative, and creativity is definitely one of the, I would say, the resource of growth. It is in our growth mindset to include our creativity. We are asked to be strategic more than sometimes, more than operational. And because we are so much versed into operations and the weeds of all the details, we're missing sometimes the bigger picture. And because we miss the bigger picture, companies can go down, or we can just miss an opportunity, even a deal, if there is something right in front of our nose that we're not seeing. What I'm trying to say here is it's about the same root. It's about the same identity issue. We're not connecting. We're not connecting to our brand, to the company we work for. We're not connecting to the customer or to the patient, as I said. We're just not connecting. And because we're not connecting ourselves with ourselves and with the things that are around us, and that also we get distracted so much by all this technology. And again, I'm not making it an issue as an old mind or an old school talking here. It's about the issue that really I see as being the root problem of many issues that we have every day in the workplace. And when we coach leaders and they talk about the issues they have in their teams or in their leadership, in their influence, There's a lot of that, believe it or not. I don't know to what proportion, but I had to bring it up here. I felt like an obligation to. And this is why the human touch and the relationship, to stress the significance of the human touch and the physical relationships is is totally key. It's fundamental. And to share stories and examples of leaders who thrive through meaningful connections is something that we can talk about all day long. There is definitely this need. I also say to people, usually in a very uncertain world today, where people are really laid off, or they, even after so many years working for the same company, that's not new, but there is cycles, especially in the US. I would say every 7 years, every 6 years, a cycle of huge layoffs in large companies. It's a fact, and the more we move forward in the time, and the more frequently we see that happening for multiple reasons. How a company is evaluated for its value, how it works in Wall Street, and how people are selling or buying shares of a company. All of that influence the speed of growth and how fast a company can gain value based on different illusions or different perceptions, right? That the investors have. That has also implications in the day-to-day, makes it volatile, makes it uncertain for the employees, and make them, in fact, sometimes secondary, if not more than secondary. So what I'm trying to say is, if we connect to ourselves, and I bring this up very often in here and in my coaching, is that we own our destiny much more than they do, the employers or the shareholders. We own our destiny because we make our own choices. And one of the choices I try to suggest and hopefully inspire you to have today is to connect to nature, is to connect to the tangible, to the materialistic, and to the elements, so that you have this experience like the craftsman has, that your creativity, your hands can do it all, and your feet too. You can definitely create and make it growth and profitable, thanks to yourself, thanks to your body, thanks to your hands. This is amazing, and your mind, obviously, but your creativity. So people bring a lot also this aspect of being tactical versus strategic. I think that we talk strategy about companies' growth, about ideas of market or increasing market share, building new business models. We do all of that every day. That's very virtual, so to speak. It's in your mind, then it goes on paper, then there's people who are meeting and talk about it. It's nothing really very tangible, is it? Until you build a mock-up or a prototype, until there's people who are really using their hands, or even a printer, that's going to make this whole prototype, 3D printer, and all these things that have been invented the last 10 years or more are very useful to us, but they are just tools to allow us to continue to be creative. But what I'm trying to mean here, the most that I try to say, is that if you take the basic ideas of creativity and go back to the very, very old traditional craftsmanship ideas, it's a good source of inspiration. And this is what I want to leave you with today. Think about it. Watch around you. How beautiful it is, even to see a painter coming into your house and coloring your walls. Look at the workers that build homes around. They use their hands as well. Look at all these people that work with their hands. I talk about the dentist as much as I talk about the surgeon, as much as I talk about the artist. They use their hands. It's the termination of their brain. It's what they activate to do something. They learn the trade. They are apprentices in a kitchen, in a pastry shop. I love to watch a pastry chef working, or a pastry chef, yeah. I love to see this because there's so many details, and sometimes so artistic when you go in the high end of it. So it's like everything. It's like everything. But everything that is man-made, especially things that are sold, and it says, handmade, is definitely gaining a lot of value and attention from me, because I know it's going to be different. My experience is going to be much more human. So in humanity, we need this element. We need it for our soul. We need it for our balance and for our well-being. And this is why I'm saying, take a break every day. Do something with your hands, maybe, and create. Maybe that's going to be, if this is a talent you had when you were a kid, for example, don't abandon it. In fact, go back to it. Take a pen and write with it. I said that so many times, how much the writing a journal, writing anything with a pen, writing a letter to your spouse or to your partner in life is so meaningful. It's going to be, again, the termination. I like to say it that way. It's the termination of your soul. It's an expression because your hand is doing it. It's not the same as typing on a keyboard. And finally, when I talked about my experience as a patient not long ago in an ER, I was really very, very upset when I saw these people focused on their computer when I needed their help. I was even more upset when I saw a guy 2 beds away from me in the alley having a heart attack, and having these people focus on the computer while the guy was in pain and probably in danger of losing his life. Fortunately, someone saw that and they stopped with this bloody computer, to go on this patient and start working on him. And it was absolutely, mind-boggling to me. So this is just because we get used to it and because it gets to our subconscious, and we kind of switch completely the priorities to the wrong direction, in the wrong order, right? In the wrong sequence. And sometimes it can cost the life of someone. So I beg all of you who are watching me tonight and or this morning, who are listening to me, the way I try to bring the message the most is with the example, but with the passion for craftsmanship, for what we do with our hands, for the elements we have around us that we can touch, that we can sense, and that's the thing we need. And I don't think that metaverse is going to give people any happiness or any kind of feeling of accomplishment, of achievement, by living in this illusional, in this fictional world. It's good to have fiction in a movie. It's good to entertain yourself for an hour or two with fiction, or read a good fiction book. But to live inside the fiction, to do and breathe your life, is definitely a nightmare. So this is my point of view, of course, and I share it with you. I will leave you with that for a thought-provoking idea that I would like you to think about. And let's continue to talk about this as we move along. I'll get some guests also to join me in the next few weeks. It's the end of the year, so people are very busy to close up the year. That's why I have a little bit of a hard time getting them here to the microphone. But I really enjoyed having you today. I think that, I hope that this is you could have some takeaways from this topic. And again, do not hesitate to write to me, to communicate with me, to put your comments here under this screen, and the screen where you watch, on LinkedIn, on all the other channels, and on YouTube especially, because I would like you to please subscribe on YouTube. See you next week. I don't know which day, I don't know which time, but it's going to be next week sometime. Thank you very much. Be well, and see you soon.